So welcome to this episode of Work the Left Side. I am joined this week by the awesomeness, as it says on his t-shirts, of Mr. RJ Singh. How's it going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Doing very well at the moment. Just as we speak, I've kind of I've wrapped up all my wrestling dates for the year. So just heading into the end of December now. Just kind of focusing on Christmas and family and all that. And yeah, just looking ahead to next year's wrestling in 2023.
Sweet. Obviously, this is a kind of a catch-up episode. I've had the honour of talking to you previously. Obviously, last time we spoke, it was coming to sort of the tail end of lockdowns and things were getting back to normal. How have you found it? Obviously, since you've been getting the work in. Obviously, I see your socials. I know you're sort of plugging away all the time doing the work.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it was early 20. It was mid sort of 2021 we spoke, I think, wasn't it, last time? And so my first show back was Purpose Wrestling in August of 2021. Was kind of the first show I did back, and which was really it was such a wild experience because I hadn't been in the ring like on a show for over a year, and so I spent a lot of time kind of in the summer, the kind of from April. It would have been so April of 2021. I'm fortunate enough that I've got a training school nearby to me, UBW Square One.
Nice.
which is about 20 minutes from where I live. So me and another wrestler, who's a good friend of mine, Sunset Skip, we just said, like, should we go, we've potentially got bookings coming up, in the summer, should we start shaking the ring rust off, and then so we kind of spent from that April, like every 2 weeks or so, we would just get together, we'd go down to the Square One training school, and we would just try shake all of the ring rust off. And it was really good. It was really productive for both of us because it kind of gave us a chance to kind of work on some new stuff that we hadn't done, like have a really good think about what we wanted to do. I mean, because both of us, as of now, like both me and Skip are in our 40s now. So it was kind of like, how we were going to wrestle, like being in our 40s rather than in our 30s anymore. Considering how different things were, things like that. So, we spent quite a bit of time just honing the craft, really. But I'd say even doing that, it just didn't prepare me for that first show back in terms of just being back in front of the live crowd and that kind of feeling of being in front of a live crowd and having to perform in front of a live crowd. But I was very fortunate. I opened the show. It was Purpose Wrestling. It was their debut show, and I was the first person out of the curtain, which was fine. And I kind of got those butterflies again, like when, you first, because I was like, wow, it's been over a year, it's been well over a year since I last wrestled, because I think prior to that, the last show I did was, I think it was Future Pro Wrestling in March of 2020 was the show I'd done before that. So, I hadn't performed in over a year. So really strange. So, but really good to be out in front of the crowd. Really kind of I did feel it though in terms of like ring fitness. I was like, even though I'd been doing training, I was like, I'm still not ring fit yet. So it took a couple of more shows to kind of just get back into that process. And to be honest, I think I didn't really feel it, as in felt really comfortable until I was hitting the tail end of 2021. But then come, this year, 2022 has been an amazing year. It's been brilliant. I've had so much fun this year, like debuting for new companies, and 2022 has been a really, really enjoyable year. I think just the way I've chosen to wrestle and the way I've chosen to kind of work with people and the kind of stories I want to tell when I'm wrestling now is I feel very much in control of that now, and I feel like what I kind of done is like, promote. I go into shows and promoters are like, oh, we want you to do, X, Y, Z, because they've been watching what I've been doing and things like that. And I think I feel wrestling feels like a pair of comfy shoes again now, where it's just, I don't have to think too hard about things. I don't have to really like, and I don't have that pressure anymore, I think. And that's possibly an age thing where you have a real pressure of, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do these moves because, these are what the young guys are doing and this is what crowds seem to be going for. I kind of just do the thing I do now, and I'm more than comfortable with that. And that's I think that's kind of what 2022 brought about for me. It just kind of showed me what the kind of matches I want to have, the kind of stories I want to tell, and it's been that's why I think for me 22 has been such an enjoyable year.
That's cool, mate. Well, by the sounds of it, like, yeah, you know, the pressure's off. You've just been able to go out there, do what you do what you want to do, and just have fun. I think by the sounds of it, you know, you've just had a really good year. You've enjoyed doing what you're doing, but yeah, again, it'll be an experience thing, an age thing. You know, people obviously you're a name. People know who they're signing or who they're booking. So yeah, you know, just let you go out there and do what you want to do, and just you know, they'll take what you want to do. They'll know is going to be for the best for everyone, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it. And I feel like, you know, with given my sort of length of time wrestling and experience, I do feel there's quite a big element of trust. I feel like promoters, when I'm booked to do shows, they kind of trust me, and they're like, you know, if we're getting RJ on board, he'll do what we need him to do, or, you know, anything we reasonably ask of him, he'll do as well. So, and you know, and that's both humbling and quite rewarding for me, because I think, you know, it feels nice to go into shows and people trust me and say that, you know, I'll do what they need me to do to make the show the best it can be.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Like I say, it's apologies. It's an experience thing, man. Obviously, you know what you're doing. You've been around long enough, not to make you feel old, but you've been around for a few years. And obviously, I had sticks on a few weeks ago. Just about back in the day, you know, started off training. You brought up the story that I think you told me on the first when we first talked about how you had to train with the kids. Yeah, because you were doing work schedule and stuff. And that was a good chat. But yeah, it's all saying, like, when you guys first ventured up to Sheffield, you two were the only ones with actually had like wrestling gear. Yeah, and everybody's looking at you like, wow, these guys are pros, they've got wrestling gear.
So I remember that. I remember having that chat with Chris Travis many years ago, and he messaged me saying that, and he's like, he goes like, you know, he said, "Oh, Jay, you're such a hero of mine. You turned up to that first show we were all on, and like you had properly made ring attire." You know, everyone else had, you know, decked themselves out in whatever they'd found in their local dance shop, and, you know, whatever they'd found in, you know,
stuff.
You know, it was nice. That was very humbling. That was another humbling moment, actually. So that was it's a great memory.
You said you made some obviously debuts with new promotions this year. Do you want to shout them out? So, okay.
Do you know what I'm also going to do? I'm going to bring. I've just got my phone in my other hand. I'm gonna. What I do, on my phone, I've got an album of, like, I save every match graphic I'm in.
Okay, cool.
And show poster. So, and it's called Match Graphics, because I don't want to leave anybody out. And it's like it's a really good reminder. So, if you look, I mean, I quick flash there. So, like, that's like all the way back from 2017. So like every show I've been on, and like every match graphic. So, like, I mean, that's a Resurgence one from last year, me versus RJ Singh, and, you know, I kind of keep all of those. So I mean, like, tail end of last year, I debuted for IWA in Italy last November, which was absolutely wicked. That was a really good experience. CXW, I can see who operate out of Braintree in Essex, debuted for them earlier this year. Who else did so I said Purpose I debuted for last year. Wrestling Society as well, which is kind of an offshoot of Wrestling Society. Was born out of like 4FW, when 4FW ceased operating, sort of just around the pandemic time. And then Nadia Sapphire, who was one of the wrestlers of 4FW, she sort of created Wrestling Society for a lot of the roster who were 4FW wrestlers. So and we've been working really closely together, me and Nadia, sort of, you know, running the shows. Kind of re-debuted in Win Wrestling up in Northampton, and that was really nice. That was great, working for Win, because it was the first show that I brought my daughter to. She's been a couple of times now. She's been to a couple of shows. So yeah, it's been great. Like, that was great experience to kind of bring her to a show, and like she could watch. Debuted in Sacrifice Pro this year. Debuted in Sovereign Pro up in Manchester. Wow. Been a long time since I've been up in the sort of wrestling up that part of the country. So that was that was really fantastic to kind of be wrestling up there as well. I'm scanning my phone now. Who else? Hammerlock. Hammerlock had its return. Wow. Recently, so debuted Hammerlock. Ignite Pro as well. Ignite Pro Wrestling debuted for them. And I think a kind of really big shout out to Pro Wrestling East, because I debuted in Pro Wrestling East at the start of this year. 3 shows later, I am the first ever Pro Wrestling East men's champion. So that was yeah, that was a great I've had a great time there, obviously, and it's in Cambridge, which is very close. And the night I won the championship, a lot of my wife's family and my daughter were in attendance for that show. So it's just gone on YouTube, actually. If you look up YouTube on Pro Wrestling East on YouTube, you'll see the championship match between myself and Gene Money.
Okay, cool. I'll post a link. I'll post a link in the video then for to watch. So I'll check that out. How was your daughter's? How did your daughter find it then? You know, obviously seeing Daddy in the ring.
Yeah, she loved it. She really enjoyed it. I think she's been into it more and more. The first show, she came to watch. She sort of came out. I gave her a big hug on my entrance and stuff like that. And then I gave her a big hug as I left the ring at the end and whatnot. But apparently, and then my wife showed me photos from during the matches. It turns out like she was really excited on my entrance, and she was excited when I won the match. But actually, during the most of it, she was playing on a phone for the rest of the time. But yeah, no, she's the last couple of shows she's come to, she's actually sort of engaging with it a bit more. She's finding it a bit more exciting. So
the phone's gone away and she's watching.
Absolutely, yeah, you know. But it was great because, you know, with the Pro Wrestling East show as well. Like at the end, you know, after I'd won, I you know, I had a big celebration in the ring and got the belt and things like that. And then she came in the ring with me, and it's on the video as well. Right. So you'll see on the ring, you see Jasmine coming into the ring with me and sort of celebrating with me. So that was yeah, really special moment. It's really lovely to have her there. I think, you know, she enjoys it, and she likes the sort of, you know, she likes the atmosphere, and she's getting more and more into it.
Ooh, you might have planted the seeds.
Yeah,
might be looking at a future women's champion.
Not if her mum has anything to do with it.
Like, no, you can watch it. That's it.
Yeah.
So, well, no, man, that's an impressive list of a lot of hands up. I've heard of some of them, but there's some of them companies. But I think there's that many promotions out there.
Yeah,
it would be cool, you know, to know all of them, kind of thing. But yeah, man, it definitely sounds like a good deal. Like I say, you've got the trust in you with the title. That's always a good thing, you know. Where do you think you go from here with that promotion? You know, is it going to be is it a case of you're the established, you know, name? Right, let's get some young guys in and help them get the rub, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that was kind of part of it on the way. You know, in a couple of shows there, I was I do think fortunate. I was really fortunate in my second show. So because obviously all my matches were part of the championship tournament. My second match, I wrestled against Scotty Rawk, who is absolutely one of the finest young talents in the scene at the moment, who absolutely bags of potential. I was, you know, the show before, so my debut show, and him and I debuted on the same show, but not against each other in our other respective matches. He had a match against another wrestler called Truman Roswell, who's a Hertfordshire-based wrestler who's very close to where I live, and they had an absolute banger of a match. Got a standing ovation on their debut as well, so great. And then so you know, and I kind of really connected with Scotty, and like we had a lot to talk about. And then the next show, it was him and me in the next round of the championship tournament. So, you know, a chance to work with someone like him who's, you know, so full of potential, so full of, you know, has got a great future ahead of him. And after the match, you know, again, that match is on YouTube as well. And I'm pretty sure it's on Pro Wrestling East's YouTube channel.
I'll link the actual channel so they can look through all the videos. I saw Scotty at 1PW a couple of months ago, and I was getting, I don't know if you pick up on this, if you'll just look at me like an idiot, but I was picking up on Spud vibes. Yeah. Because during the match, he was very much like being used like an underdog, you know, he was overcoming this, overcoming that. That's very much how I remember Spud from first time round at 1PW. So I was like, you know, it seems very much like, I've seen different style, but kind of because of the size and everything, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and he's a really fascinating person, I think, to talk to and to see, because, you know, documented over like lockdown how actually during lockdown he completely changed his physique. He dropped a lot of weight. He got himself in really, really good shape during the lockdown era, and then has come back, you know, into wrestling full force, really just really working on his game in the ring, really has clearly done a lot of studying of like how to improve himself in the ring, and obviously working with more experienced wrestlers. You can see that. And yeah, I mean, he's a mental health advocate as well, which I think is hugely important. And you know, he's one of those people who you just there's not a bad word about him out there. People just sing his praises, and it's really obvious to see why. So you know, I have a lot of time for Scotty, and I'm really pleased that, you know, again, when I'm going to pro wrestling, we're being booked on shows together, and he's, you know, someone I will fully support, because I think he's got bags of potential. I'm really excited to see how you know, he progresses in the next couple of years.
Now, I've got to say, I've seen limited spots. Like I said, I was really impressed at the 1PW show. I saw him using like a 6-man battle royal with a few other guys as well. There's a lot of young talent that's escalated or leveled up very quickly. Like Leon Slater, man called Darius, they were both there. There's a few other ones as well. So Scotty. I'm just looking out there and being like, it only seemed like a couple of years ago people were worried that British wrestling was on its arse.
Yeah,
because you know, a lot of people had signed off to, you know, WWE, NXT, UK, and stuff. But it's like, you know, these guys have, and they've come out of a shitty couple of years.
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, you know, that's just the nature. Like, I think people will always say things like that, and I think people forget that wrestling and life in general is fairly cyclical. You know, we go in cycles, we go in dips and troughs. You know, sometimes things are great, sometimes things are not so great. It's a story that it's what carries on year on year and year. You know, like I said, I've been around long enough in wrestling where, you know, when I first got in early 2000s, 2001, 2002, the scene was building. It was huge things going on. Imports were coming over. It was doing great business. We hit by 2007 though, we were in a massive dip again.
Yeah,
a massive dip. 5 years later, things have turned around again. Wrestling's become really hot again. The UK scene's become really hot again. Started having some fizzles, you know, around 2017, kind of that time, a few fizzles again, and obviously pandemic came in, swept everything under the rug, and now we're just building again. But that's what we've always done. We've always rebuilt from, you know, a low starting point, because the nature of it, just things go up and down, things cycle back around again. So, you know, but like I say, it's great, you know, and the scene will always be replaced. People always will move on. They'll either move up to full-time careers and contracts, and some people will just move on from wrestling entirely. And when that happens, the next crop step up and they move up into those positions, and that's where we are now. We're seeing like that new crop of wrestlers who are moving into those positions. So, you know, it's yeah, like I said, I always find it a bit funny when people are like, oh, it's all dead, it's, you know, it's on its backside, and it's like, it's not. It just sometimes takes time to whip myself in the face there. It just takes time to cycle back around again.
That's it. But I think it's safe to say, because of the talent that have been around for the last 10, 20 years, obviously these guys are involved in training the next lot. It's got to be, the caliber's always going to be, you know, to a certain point now. I don't think we're ever going to have that point where there's not at least a handful of names where people are like, okay, yeah, you know, I want to see that guy, I need to go see that guy.
Yeah.
If that guy's on the show, I'm going to that show, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think we'll have that constant stream now, because just because of the teachers that are out there now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And the schools as well. You mean, like you just listed off about 6 or 7 promotions. I think I've heard I heard of 3 of them. And yeah, I'll probably hazard a guess. There's probably at least like 100 promotions in the country, give or take. And you know, there's X amount of schools. Obviously, we were talking to Styx about, you know, House of Pain, the people they were churning out, the talent, and yeah, that's just one school out of many.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and there's lots of choice now. I think people have got more choice over schools, and you know, and you know, per town, there's a lot more around now, and more choice when it comes to choosing schools.
But yeah, I don't think there's any need to worry about British wrestling now. I think it's in good hands for the foreseeable.
Yeah, I do think so. Yeah.
What's the so you said 2022 was a good year. Have you got any thoughts or ideas of what you want to do in 2023? Any things to tick off, or people you want to work with?
I mean, you know, I mean, there's always loads of people I want to work with, and it's really funny because there's still people from like 20 years ago who I came up with and was on the scene with, who I've never actually worked matches against as well. I mean, like Joey Hayes was a name that sprung to mind, in that like me and Joey Hayes have been in a tag match against each other about 17 years ago, but we've never had a singles match.
Wow.
Same like me and like Damon Lee, we've never we've been around for ages, we've never had a match together. Dean Allmark, I've never worked with Dean Allmark, which is insane. I've never, I've been on shows with Dean Allmark, but I've never worked in a match with Dean Allmark in any capacity whatsoever, which is just crazy when you think about it. So there's loads of guys like that actually who've been around for sort of as long as me, or maybe longer, who I've not been in the ring with. So there's a load of guys like that, but
I just presumed, I'm sorry, man. I just presumed you'd worked with them. I thought that was a given. But
absolutely. But there's a lot of guys who like say me and Sunset Skip, like every couple of months we end up working against each other or with each other, and we always have such a good laugh, because we know each other really well, and we always have a good time working together. But there's loads of new guys, and I've been fortunate to work with a lot of new guys at the moment, like people like Tommy Kyle. I worked again. We did a match recently, and Tommy Kyle's another guy who's like full of bags of potential. Works with Gene Money recently, who's absolutely brilliant. I don't want to leave anyone out by saying people I'd love to work with, not really, but I mean Crowley, Charles Crowley is someone I'd definitely like to get in the ring with. We were actually scheduled to do a match this year, and it just didn't happen for various reasons. But we were booked to have a match in February, I think it was, of this year, and it just kind of fell through, which is a bit of a shame. It never got rebooked. But yeah, I definitely like to work with Charles Crowley at some point.
Awesome. But if anybody's watching that runs the show, I want to see RJ versus Hayes or Mark. Definitely, those two matches for me have got to be like, like I say, it's the era. You guys were just like, it's mental. That's totally sort of left me speechless, as I just presumed you'd worked together. I remember last time we talked, John Morrison came up, because obviously you worked with John Morrison. Was it at Southside or somewhere?
That was 4FW. Yeah, it was 4FW. Yeah.
The reason I mentioned it is because obviously he's at 1PW in February. I've got tickets, so I just remember you saying like he was the prettiest dude you've ever seen in person, kind of thing.
100%, the most handsome man I've ever seen. Yeah, in real life, definitely.
So I've that to look forward to.
Excellent.
What's going on with you there? Are you sort of getting into the teaching side of things? Are you sort of looking into that as something to do? I get asked this a lot actually, and I get asked to do sort of seminars and things like that, and people are like, you ever going to open a training school like that? And I don't have time to commit to it, which is really different, which is actually just hard between full-time job, which is also teaching, full-time job of teaching, and then working shows all around that as well. I can never really commit myself to to actually doing it. So I mean, never say never, certainly in terms of, sometime in the future, it might be something I'd look at and say, actually, maybe I'd like to open a training school. I think I've got enough knowledge and know-how and resources to kind of do that. So, but at the moment, I'm just, I'm happy to, if a promotion or a particular training school gets in contact and they're like, would you like to come do a seminar for us or something like that? I'm always more than happy to be able to try and negotiate something and do something. That's what more like just the seminars, one-off classes.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Just sure I can.
You mentioned at the start about obviously wrestling in your 40s. How have you kind of changed that up then? Is it obviously less flippy stuff? Are you more? Would you say you're more ground-based, technical?
Yeah, I think I tend to avoid risk really where I can. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you look at again, if you look at my match at Soft Pro and my match at Pro Wrestling East, I still do the moonsault from the top. I do the moonsault press from the top rope. But I really I kind of have to weigh things up a bit and just consider what not taking huge risks at this point as well. And I think, and a huge part of it as well, like wrestling rings can be a really big part of that, because not all wrestling rings are built the same. There are some that they're a lot better on the body, and there's some that are really tough on the body. And unfortunately, like I said, for someone in my age and you know, 20 years of taking bumps, you know, there are some rings which are just horrendous and just, you know, feel like landing on concrete. And I can't, you know, I can't do as much in those rings that I perhaps will do in another ring. So, you know, it's just, I think, you know, I've always been not always, that's not quite true, but I've, you know, like I said, more recently, I'm just interested in storytelling. That's kind of what I want to do. And it's not about moves. It's about I've always said that. It's, for me, it's not about moves. It's about moments, and it's about creating moments in the ring, because that's what sticks with people at the end of the day. It's a moment that sticks with people more than a move does. So, you know, I've just been working, you know, the way I work now is you know, you could call it a safe style, but it's about telling a story and getting people involved in what's going on in the match.
So when you get to a show, then do you get in the ring, feel it out, and then kind of assess from being in the ring, like what kind of a match you're going to have?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a big part of it now, because you know, again, you get like a lot of younger guys coming back and be like, oh, yeah, the ring was all right tonight, and I'm sitting there sort of laying on a tub of ice, being like, no, it bloody wasn't, you know. So yeah, it's definitely different. So I do like to kind of get a sense of how well I'm going to fare in each particular ring.
But what you're saying there about moments, it's plainly obvious that you and Sticks have known each other for so long, because he's of the same mindset. We kind of talked about it on that episode. You know, he sort of said, like, you know, who are the top 5 wrestlers of the last 20, 30 years? He's like Hogan, Austin, Rock, Reigns, Cena. And none of them would be regarded as, you know, Austin obviously in his prime when he's Hollywood Blonde before the broken neck, amazing technical wrestler. Obviously broke his neck, changed his style, and he's more famous for when he wasn't a great wrestler. The moments, like, although all 5 of those guys are memorable because of the moments they have on TV or at pay-per-views.
Oh, definitely. I mean, as well with, like, that's what you say with like Hogan as well. Like, people, you know, anyone who said Hulk Hogan can't wrestle, and it's like, well, if you mean technically wrestle, go watch his matches in Japan, because you know, he could absolutely hang with them, like, totally. But obviously he didn't have to do that. He didn't need to do that when he was in America. That wasn't, you know, that wasn't what was required. And you know, look at people who used to chant Roman Reigns. You can't, you know, Roman Reigns used to get "you can't wrestle" chants.
Yeah.
And the guy is the best thing in pro wrestling, like, you know, followed very closely by Sami Zayn right now. But Roman Reigns is the best wrestler in the world. He's incredible. And you know, and it's like, you know, this is a guy who once got chanted "you can't wrestle," and it's like same with John Cena. John Cena got chanted "you can't wrestle," but look how many wrestlers Cena made look amazing. Like, you know, and I say that to people when people are like, oh, John Cena's not a great wrestler. I was like, did you see his matches with AJ Styles?
Yeah.
Like, AJ Styles is a great wrestler, but John Cena made AJ Styles a great WWE wrestler. Like, that was down to his work. You know, that was down to the work he did with Cena. That's what made AJ Styles great in WWE. He's working with John Cena. So, you know, and again, just, you know, really good at creating really fantastic moments.
That's it. And that's what you remember. One of the guys who does the shows with us, a guy called Mick, loves Cena. He's put Cena as like in his top 5, and for that very reason, he's like sort of saying, you know, the matches that he's had, like with Edge, Punk. He even got like a good match out of Great Khali kind of thing. And yeah, it's very an easy target to sort of, you know, have a go at.
Yeah, of course.
But he works the way that they needed to work.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, and that's it. And you watch the top guys in WWE, and they've got such a fantastic way of working, and that, you know, doing that main event style, they've got it down to a fine art, really, I suppose you could say, you know, the way they work there. And, you know, and that's what Reigns has got right now. And Reigns is that guy. He's the absolute perfect guy's champion right now, which is, you know, which is why he's champion. So because he's just perfect in that role.
There's obviously there are arguments for or against. It's like moments with Reigns, I say, great champion, some great moments with a lot of the guys. But I wouldn't rewatch a lot of his matches. Whereas you've got you guys like Bryan Danielson, obviously has great moments, but he's a great wrestler. You know, I'll rewatch his matches 4 or 5 times, but the moments aren't there. But when you're actually talking to people and you're getting hyped about it, you talk about the moments. You talk about Steve Austin getting run over. You know, the shitty reveal, the good moments and the bad moments of just
absolutely. Yeah.
So, but yeah, definitely, man. And so that's how you've kind of you've slowed down and you're telling stories more.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, anyone who's following me on social media at the moment is like, my big thing is the DDT. Like bringing that in as a, you know, I've been since the start of this year actually. It was kind of, you know, it's a move I've always loved, and you know, it's a move that's been so diluted in wrestling for so long, that I just went, it's a great move. It's a move, and it's a move everybody knows. It's a move that you can put on anybody. It's the original. It's the original out of nowhere move, way before the RKO was the out of nowhere move. And I decided, like, you know, I'm going to bring this back, make it. I'm going to make it my finish, and I'm going to finish matches with the, you know, that'll be the finish of the match. Will be the DDT. And it's been so well received. Backstage by other wrestlers who are like, oh, I can't believe, you know, I think it's brilliant you're using the DDT as a finish, and it's brilliant. I was like, of course it's a finish. It's like, it's a match ender. And because I tell people it's a match ender, and you know, and again, anyone who's been watching me this year will know that a lot of my matches are based around me attempting to get the DDT on people, and you know, hit that DDT. And you know, I'm very blatant in my stealing of Jake Roberts' arm twirl, because you know, you got to do the arm twirl if you're going to hit the DDT. And yeah, and I've just enjoyed that. It's been a great, you know, this year has been really great in establishing that, you know, and I think, you know, people who watch me now and like have been following me now know that that's kind of what I'm going for. And like, you know, a lot of my matches are based around the DDT. So, and again, it's such a simple story to tell, and that's what works for me.
Yeah, do you do the leg thing as well? Because obviously Jake always kind of did the he swung his leg a little bit to get momentum.
Oh, of course, yeah, absolutely. Mine, you know, I kind of, my three favorites really are Jake Roberts, Arn Anderson, and Raven.
Yes,
kind of
Raven. Thank you.
Yeah, they're my. I mean, because obviously they're probably the top three users of the DDT. And I was talking to, I did a sort of a podcast a couple of years back now, and we were talking about and obviously like WCW in the early 90s, the DDT was such an amazingly over move. Like, and that was an era when like Arn Anderson was doing it and the Freebirds were doing it as well. And we were watching, I think it was like Halloween Havoc 90, the one with the Black Scorpion. And like Arn Anderson and the Freebirds are both heels in their respective matches. Yet when they both signal and attempt the DDT, the crowd just goes absolutely bonkers. They go absolutely bonkers for the DDT. So it was such an over move back then. You know, people were absolutely thought he was such a, you know, they just, and they knew again, they knew it was a match ender. Yeah. So kind of that's just kind of been my thing this year, really. I've just been, you know, just been trying to bring it back, and just you know, give it that level of importance that I think it should have. And but it's really funny because like, you talk to, you know, when you talk to people and they're backstage and they're like, oh yeah, what do you call your DDT? And I'm like, DDT. Like, oh, don't you give it a special name? I'm like, no, I just call it DDT. Or you get the what kind of DDT is it? And I'm like, just a DDT. You know, not a swinging DDT. Yeah, not an underhook DDT or a rope DDT or a swing. No, just a DDT. And they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's
in fairness, I mean, that itself is logically, if you think about it, just a normal DDT is more powerful than any other kind of version of it. It's just,
you know,
forced down, isn't it?
I mean, again, I stole the phrase from Jake, but it's like short ride, bad landing. You know, that's it. That's why it's great. That's why it's great.
But yeah, and I always love the fact of like when people say like, no, move's been diluted, everybody's doing it, it's lost its impact. I think it means more if somebody does use it as a finisher, because you must do it so well. You can do it better than anyone else because you can finish it.
Yeah, that's it. And I think, like I say, it's kind of cool now that I've got, you know, like I said, people will come up to me and, you know, wrestlers will come up to me and say, oh, you got the DDT now. I was like, okay, cool. So it's yeah, no, it's been really good. It's had a really good warm reception, and like you say, you know, again, I'll let you, you know, again, go watch Pro Wrestling East, the three matches I had in Pro Wrestling East versus CJ Carter versus Scotty Rawk versus Gene Money, and you will see the story of the DDT throughout all three matches. Is what I weaved in all three matches. So you'll be able to see that.
Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely put the link in. I'll check them out myself. So because I like that, to me is I like wrestling. Obviously, we've said it on numerous episodes, numerous people. It's a bit of this and it's a bit of that, but I do love it when you've got that one goal in a match and you can tell the person's heading for that. Like when somebody's got a submission hold as the finisher, you know, like when Ric Flair just used to work the leg. So that's the story. That's the goal.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna hit this move. match over. That's it.
Absolutely, it's the same logic, isn't it? It's the same, and that's
Yeah.
that's the simple story that you're telling, and that's it. You know, spot on.
It just works. You know, people still do it now. People who did it 30 years ago. It works.
Yeah.
So previously as well, you've done commentating, obviously with Progress. Is that something you've kind of you're looking at in the future?
Again, I wouldn't say never, but it just depends when I kind of finally decide to wrap things up about whether to do that. I did enjoy it. I mean, I really enjoyed my time on commentary in Progress. You know, I ended up and quite a few of the matches I commentated on end up on the WWE Network, which is really cool. To say that yeah, you know, my voice ended up on there. Although I have actually now have a match on the WWE Network thanks to Roy Johnson's Everything Patterned, which went onto the WWE Network eventually. Yeah, so it's nice to actually have a match on there. But yeah, no, I mean, the commentary thing I loved. I really enjoyed it. I really got into it, and I really just gave it my all. I was like, you know, I was kind of learning on the job how to do it. Again, you know, Progress picked me up to do it because I was a wrestler, but also because they felt confident I could talk and I could speak eloquently and, you know, as I needed to. So, you know, something I kind of naturally fit for me to be just talking and, you know, and expressing myself in that way. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something somewhere down the line, you know, if there's a place for me where some people are like, yeah, we'd like RJ to come on as a commentator, it's definitely something I consider again at some point.
Nice. Yeah. So right, I promised you I won't keep you on for too long. I think obviously, you know, we've gone through the awesomeness that was this year. You know what the plans are for next year. Hopefully, someone out there does watch this and books, you know, you against Dean Allmark or Joey Hayes.
Definitely.
You know, hopefully, you know, the next batch of talent gets its rub as well. And when you do eventually lose the title, it'll be to, you know, a fresh face.
Yes.
And it'll mean because he's beating RJ. You know what I mean? So, that thing. So, dude, it's been awesome to catch up with you. That was the whole purpose of the episode. I could keep you going for longer, but it's a Friday night, so I'm going to let you you wrap it up.
We'll catch up again another time. I'm sure there's always more to talk about. So
here's something to run by you. Six wants to do a side-by-side episode. You two.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I could just sit back and let you two.
Oh, of course. You know. Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, definitely up for that. Definitely.
We'll do that as a sort of I've not done it before, so you two can be like.
Let's do it. Yeah, 100%.
Do you want to plug your socials? You got any merch you want to?
Yeah, no. So just people want to follow me on the socials. I'm on Twitter. I am. That's a good question. What am I? I am at RJ Singh is King on Twitter, but Instagram it's a flipped. On Instagram it's at King RJ Singh. So yeah, it's those two. So yeah, people can follow me on the socials there.
Have you still got any more of the Lego t-shirts?
I don't. I keep meaning to get some reprints of that because some people were asking about that recently. So yeah, I'm considering, you know, hopefully coming into 2023, doing a couple of reprints, maybe doing some other colors because I only ever did them in red, so I might get some done in blue and a couple other things.
But you know, wrestling fans love black t-shirts.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very true. Very true.
But yeah, I've got to say, just put it out there, whoever designed that t-shirt for you, dude, deserves a massive pat on the back. It's still one of my favorite ever t-shirts.
Excellent.
Awesome. So yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for talking to me, dude. It's been awesome to catch up. It's always
a pleasure, mate.
And I will speak to you soon.
Indeed. Thank you. Take care.
See you, mate.